Good evening. Welcome. At this time, I'll call to order the Monday, December the 8th, regular scheduled City of Clemson Planning Commission meeting. The meeting is being live streamed on YouTube and recorded on the City of Clemson's YouTube channel as well. First, the Planning Commission is a volunteer committee that's appointed by City Council and serves as an advisory board in the planning and development of our city. We are not employees of the City of Clemson. At this time, I'll introduce our commissioners. Commissioner Hyatt, Vice Chair Commissioner Rice, Commissioner Yoder, and Commissioner Crowley. My name is Herb Tyler, and I serve as the chair for 2025. Thank you all. We have a quorum. I'm going to introduce our administrative staff. We have our city planner, Art Holbrooks, who is here. Is that Jacob over there? Yes. Jacob Peabody, who's planning and zoning administrator. Nathan Woods, assistant city manager and head of planning department. And of course, we could not do this without Ms. Kelly Roach. We're glad to have you here. If anyone needs assisted listening devices, please approach Kelly. If you do not have an agenda was sent out, but there are some on the back table. Feel free to get one. I'd like to remind everybody during our sessions tonight, everybody needs to be heard and everybody deserves to be treated with honor, dignity, and respect. And in saying that, if there is a speaker, they may have different opinions. We want to keep calm. We want to show them the respect they deserve. No jeering, clapping, yelling, those kind of things, just proper decorum, which is the way everybody needs to be treated in the right manner. So I always say that. As we move forward, we're going to open. We have a public session. Now, what the public session is for, this public session is for things that are within the purview of the Planning Commission that are not on the agenda. So we're going to open this session, and it's going to be up to 15 minutes total. And the session, each speaker can come up and speak for up to 3 minutes. If you have prepared a copy of something that you would like attached, please just let us know that as well. We would ask that when you come up that you do sign in with your name and where you live and say that. The other part that's confusing to a lot of people, our microphone is this big round thing in the ceiling. So when you're speaking, speak loud enough for it to pick that up and speak towards the commission. That's the only way that microphone picks up what's going on. So at this point, we're going to open the public session. Anybody have anything they would like to comment on or to say?
Question or clarification, this is something unrelated to what's on the agenda, correct?
Yes. Keep it up in a few minutes more. We did not have any, just in case, so everybody knows, the Friday before a planning commission meeting by noon, if you cannot attend a meeting or have comments that you would like to be heard, they need to be in through My Civic app, which can be located at the City of Clemson website, and it gives you a place to write in comments. We did not have any comments that were submitted by last Friday at noon. with that being said, we'll go ahead and close out this public time. And we're going to move on to the adoption of minutes from our November the 10th, 2025 regular scheduled meeting. Have all the commissioners had an opportunity to review the minutes? Any edits, omissions that are noted? Seeing there are none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 10th, 2025 regular meeting.
I'll second it.
So any discussion? So we have a motion to approve. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay? Okay. It approves unanimous. So the first item on our agenda tonight, it is not an action item. It is a review of a major subdivision sketch plan review. And so during this period of time, this is an opportunity for the individuals who are proposing this to come before the Planning Commission and to give a proposal, and we'll look at it at this point in time for the first time. So staff, Art, are there any updates or anything?
No, sir, no updates. Jake has a good bit more history. He's dealt with this particular project and all. I will state, though, that just so everybody's aware, this is the first of 3 reviews required by city code for a major subdivision. Major subdivision in the city of Clemson is 5 lots or more. And so this classifies as a major. So the first one is a sketch plan, still basically conceptual. The intent of a sketch plan review is for the developer to come and get discuss things with the commission, get the commission's input early on before they start honestly spending significant dollars, you know, developing engineering and all the other things that will be coming. So this is kind of it's very similar. Recently, in recent years, we've seen many more of the concept presentation plan, you know, sessions with plan developments. This is in some ways similar to that. So the intent will be for the commission to listen to the developer, get all the information that you need, and hopefully provide some guidance if in those areas that you see any guidance. However, the standards, unlike a plan development, the standards for subdivisions are pretty well set. And regardless of things that the commission may want or prefer to see, if it doesn't fit with the city code, then the city code will rule. That will be the job of the city engineer, Jake, and the other reviewers who are on staff to make sure all of this will be reviewed by staff and will report to you as it comes to you as plans are developed.
Okay. Jake, would you go ahead and give some background?
Yeah, I just want to give you guys a little background on this one. So this project actually started over 20 years ago.
Do you mind coming up so we
Yeah.
can?
Absolutely. Okay, so this project started over 20 years ago when they were approved for a conservation subdivision back then. Half of it was developed at that time, actually on both sides of Rock Creek Road. Sometime after then, they kind of stalled for a long time. And sometime after that, the owner of the property actually combined the lots, because there was a bunch of lots plotted out for many years. He was tired of paying tax on individual lots, combined them. Then this kind of got rehatched a couple years ago. So 2023, he then said, I want to come back and do another conservation subdivision, bring it back in front of you guys. Also around that same time frame, the original subdivision never completed their detention pond correctly. So and that was back when DHEC was the controlling factor of detention ponds. So they were under an order from DHEC to finish off the detention pond, which they finally have done. So the first phase, detention, all taken care of, that's kind of, that gave them the ability to move forward with the second phase. So in 2023, they came in front of the zoning board, where they were granted permission for another conservation subdivision for up to 18 lots. At that stage, the zoning board can put whatever conditions they want or feel are necessary to protect neighbors, to enhance it, because a conservation subdivision allows you to actually go denser than what would otherwise be allowed, smaller lots, but you have to protect a certain amount of open space, which this project does. And they also put the following caveats on that approval: that walking trails be installed throughout the open space, that the open space be accessible to the general public, that the homes be a minimum of 2,000 square feet in gross floor area, that the maximum number of lots be 18, that the minimum lot size be 7,000 square feet, that the siding on the primary cementous boards the primary siding on the houses be cementous board with no vinyl siding allowed, and that the lots that are on Rock Creek Road will have the primary facade facing Rock Creek. So you can't have the back, even though it's alley loaded, you can't have the backs of the houses facing Rock Creek. So those were the stipulations for approval from the BZA, which then brings it in front of you guys. So the maximum number of lots they have is 18, and that's where they are in front of you guys now to go to determine the final layout and whatnot.
Thank you.
No problem.
Appreciate that. So at this time, do we have someone that is presenting?
I'm David Jones. So I was going to clarify one thing. What Jacob said is that the original owners still own it, and 3 years ago it was me that, or 2 years ago, it was me that brought it in front of the zoning board to get the approval done, to get the conservation development with Jacob and everybody else's help walking through that process. So they still own it. They want to get this finished. They're not leaving something behind for their kids to deal with and have a problem with later on. I would like to build it. We're currently doing the subdivision at Poplar Ridge, kind of at Berkeley and Sequina, and about halfway through that. Again, as he read, minimum 2,000 square feet. We agreed to do concrete siding. We have the soil study for the wetlands determination scheduled for the next 2 weeks. I think that we'll probably lose a lot during that part of the process. We have our topography and tree survey scheduled after that so that we can incorporate the wetland study into the topo and tree. Just because doing those at the same time is a lot more efficient for us. I'd like to get this finished for them, and I'd like to do it. And I think we've got a good plan to move forward. We've met with virtually everybody that's here on behalf of the city, or I have met with them either by phone or in person in the last 2 weeks to go over this and just kind of make sure everybody's on the same page. Again, the goal is like smaller lots, less disturbance. The current owners are finishing the retention pond being put in right now that wasn't completed 20 years ago when they started this subdivision. So we've got a good plan of attack and a lot less engineering to do during this process because the retention pond is going in right now. What questions do y'all have for me?
So are the walking trails already started on the other side?
We have not. That's one of the parts that Nathan and I discussed last week, because after a meeting with DOT, we were trying to figure out how the greenway is going to work at the front of the subdivision and where it'll run along the front.
Okay, and didn't I read something in the background that they're?
Yes, sir. So our goal is to put a walking trail around the retention pond and have like a sitting area, cooking area, kind of pergola back there. So once we get done grading all of that, we're going to get all that in.
Okay, and that would be available for everybody?
Yes, sir.
Anybody, everybody?
Yep. Our plan is to put parking places back there. We just haven't sketched any of that out until we get the retention pond finished up.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the city's intention for these type of parks and the conservation subdivision we're not gonna make like a big parking lot, maybe like
No.
free space on that. It's more for people in this neighborhood and the existing surrounding neighborhood to have a little walking trail type thing. It's not meant to be a destination park, but what's called like a pocket park.
Gotcha. Who maintains that? Neighborhood?
Well, that we'd have to determine. If, it depends on what level the city wants to be involved and how much maintenance they have. But right now, how it's set up, it would be the developer's HOA, but.
That's what I would recommend, is that if it's being a park, pocket park, it's more of a neighborhood park, not something that the city maintains, even though there might would be some use from people in the city, but the neighborhood maintains that. It just is too much.
Is there, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you have to have parking spots for the park? Is that,
Not necessarily, but it depends on how basically he designs it, programs it. If you're gonna have like a little cookout area, you might wanna have 1 or 2 spaces just to pull stuff down, that kind of thing. But, we'll kind of see what's appropriate for what they propose.
Is there currently an HOA for the first phase that was built 20 years ago?
There was an HOA that was created and started and has kind of fallen apart. The due diligence that we have done to date is that the current owners have ownership of the HOA. So as part of that, we would have to restart it and start that all back up.
And that would be done.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And that would include the homes that are already currently there?
Yep. So part of our plan is to not assess them in the first year, and we're covering the expenses so that nobody is surprised, because I'm sure that, if I was one of them, I wouldn't want to get, a new invoice for $500 or $600 or whatever. I'm just making up numbers,
Yeah.
but like,
Right.
Yeah.
I would be pissed if it was me and I'm getting that. So our plan is we'll cover those expenses while we are doing the development, and then give everybody plenty of warning and notice before that would be billed to anyone.
And so I think the way that I would explain it, and I want to make sure I got it right, it's kind of like Village Walk, where you don't see any of the garages or anything. You go behind. It's nothing that would be faced off of Rock Creek Road where
Yes,
people
sir.
would see that.
Correct.
the, page, let's see, well, I guess it's page 6 of a document that staff gave us with the sketch review. It has like a green image, and is this the old sketch review? Because it looks like there's like 14 lots, but then something else.
It's probably the original stuff, right?
Yes, that's the old GIS images before they reconstituted the
Okay,
lots.
okay.
You can see that.
I've seen that. I was just making sure.
That's correct. It wasn't even that long ago that the current owner recombined all the lots.
And then I was reading something that it would be accessed by alleys, but there are 4 homes, it looks like, in the little square. They're facing the alley, I guess. I'm not opposed to anything, I'm just kind of asking
Yes,
questions about
so
it.
the back ones there, that'd be our assumption, those would be facing the alley.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the questions I had is that Nickel Street, looks like it turns off of Augusta. Just kind of goes straight, that's somebody's driveway, I'm assuming. I don't know if that's a city-owned street, a state road, private driveway, but would that road be continued on into the neighborhood to connect
Can I
those
look at what you're
4?
looking at? You mind if I?
I think it's
It's basically a paper street, it's right here.
Yeah, that doesn't continue down. It's
Okay.
honestly more, to my understanding from talking to Dusty and Benji about it, it's more of like an old sewer easement that runs through that part of the property.
Yeah, the only thing is if we ever made it a walking trail or biking trail, it would be the only use the city would ever do out of there.
Come right
We
there.
have no intention to
Or actually
upgrade it to a
right
street.
Where those 4 are. So basically, those 4 that that Tanya's talking about right there, at the bottom that come down, so that'll be a separate road that'll just dead end right there. that you
It's
guys
not an
would create.
alley, it's a road.
Correct, that one's more of an internal street.
So those homes would be road
Facing that way.
facing?
Yes, yes. But the rest of the rest of the homes that touch Rock Creek will face Rock Creek.
Okay.
And the garages will face the alleys behind them.
And will there need to be a cul-de-sac? It looks like the road just dead
So
ends.
that'll be a cul-de-sac, and then the other three corners will have like a hammerhead turn, is what Nathan Hinkle and I discussed for a fire truck to be able to turn around.
So you're talking about like right there behind 13, lot 13?
Yeah, and 12,
Well,
12 and 13.
12 and 13.
Yes. But again, some of that layout may change once we get once we've had the stream study done.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're waiting on. That's why I said, like, I think that this will change a good bit once the stream determination has been completed.
and so lot 5, 6, 7, and 8,
And then the only other thing, if I can jump in front of you for one thing, lot number 1, that little corner that's down there, one of the neighbors that's here whose property that's next to, Gerald Waddle and I actually met last week, and we're gonna give him that little corner because that's basically part of his yard already. So to kind of clean all that off, we're gonna give that to him, and I've met with Nathan Woods, Hinkle, and discussed it with, I feel like I'd say confidently, everybody from the city that's here.
His driveway access is right there, so.
It makes sense to tie it off and make it clean for him and for us.
So we're gonna do away with lot 1?
Lot 1 will stay, but that little corner, that little narrow piece.
It'll just square off. Yeah.
We're just gonna square off the
Yeah.
front.
Just goes straight out.
Yeah.
And you'll deed that over, record the deed.
Yes, sir. We're gonna deed
everything
that
else.
over to him.
And it'll be no part of this conservation.
Correct.
That will be, we'll handle that totally separately.
It'll be whatever it is, R12,
Yeah,
R20.
the rules of the conservation subdivision and the whole HOA will not apply to that lot. That'll be given to him separately.
Okay, just want to make sure it was clean.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I think it's in their best interest for it to be clean.
Absolutely.
And not bound by anything.
Yes, sir.
What would the current buffering be, like for those 4 lots down at the bottom?
Which,
5, 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah,
The ones that face the alley in the back.
yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Buffer
know
between
what
them
the-
and what?
What's that?
Between them and what?
Upper
The
Highland
lot
houses.
line?
Oh, there would be no required buffer between single family, R20 lots and R20 lots.
Because there's a conservation, because they did that and
Yeah.
making it the conservation.
Yeah, just,
And if there was a fence between neighbors, it's.
That was gonna be one of my questions, is it mentioned, any other restrictions or whatever that was imposed by BZA, but the base zoning, is that still gonna be?
R20.
Okay, so any of the setbacks, like, or how is that, I guess, how is that stuff handled?
No, the setbacks are modified by the conservation subdivision.
Yeah, I guess that's
Okay.
what I meant.
Like, I mean, that may be, I know the buffer's a different thing, but is there, are those already approved and?
I have to go through the ordinance honestly on that one. I'm not really sure offhand.
I think it goes to, from what one of y'all sent me, I don't remember which one, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it goes to like RS 3 point something.
Yeah, 3.5.
Yes.
There's a set of what they are. I just don't have it in front of me right this second.
Okay, because I mean, that was one of my things. I know this is I think this is the first one I've been part of. And I'm familiar with the PD process, obviously, and that's, everything's scratched, occupancy.
This is not, this has set standards.
Right, so the base underlying as far as like occupancy,
Occupancy of 2.
occupancy to setbacks is, you said there's.
Back to
there's
the
a
ones
scale.
for, R3.5, I'd have to go through with exactly what they are. They are reduced from the R20.
Okay.
At least the rear setback is.
That may be kind of if, we've got 80 feet between houses, we've got 40 and 40
Yeah.
on R20s, and if it's 40 and 5, that, may influence, if the house is only 5 feet off the back line, that might be.
So what would we be to approve? What is the planning commission?
You guys are basically just laying out the roadway, honestly, the planning commission's involvement in these things is very limited.
Right.
If there's roads to be named, you'd be naming them.
So we're not changing the zoning necessarily.
No, if there was buffers being put in place, the BZA would have had to have done that.
Right.
You guys don't have that authority.
And BZA's already done it.
Yeah.
What's the planned price point, do you know?
500 to 600.
You know what your average square feet is?
Our goal is to be over 2,000. is what
Over
we
2,000.
agreed to with the BZA. And that's kind of where I'd like to be, especially after sitting in the, I don't even remember what it was, the meeting that I came to a couple weeks back with the consultants on the zoning.
Yep.
Like we're talking about like the middle ground, and that kind of hit, I've told everybody, I think that hit home for me, because I'm like, I had been thinking that our goal with this would be a 2,000 to 2,300 square feet. And then we'd be in like, the lowest end would be high 4s to, mid to upper 5s. Because I mean, I can promise of like, from doing Poplar here, it's the first subdivision I've done in Clemson that, the price point, we don't have as many buyers, and, our goal was to have less impact, and I feel like we've ended up having more impact because it's such a large lot and with grading. So I'm excited about this because I think we're gonna have an easier time grading wise, and we're not gonna be clearing and doing as much with that. And I think we're in a good middle ground, like we're in the middle ground that consultant was talking about during that meeting.
Any other comments from the commission?
Back to the 5, 6, 7, and 8 lot, and this might not even be under the purview of the commission, but they're going to be facing like 9 and 10's backyard. Is that like fenced in, or?
They will be above 9 and 10 by about 40 feet, 30, 40 feet elevation wise.
Oh.
So if you had the topo on here, these will sit up on top of the hill and look out over the top of those houses towards Rock Creek Road.
I also don't know if it's within our purview as well, but I guess the only recommendation I would say is try to look out for those houses that are right there on, I guess that'd be Augusta, because you could be backing right up to there. And I don't know if there's anything in line as far as fencing or things like that for that lot
I mean,
line
I'm happy
there.
to say we'll put a fence along the back of those.
I figured you
I mean,
probably will have
that's-
something in line
That's fine.
to, just for privacy.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
You could clear the.
I'm fine to do that.
And I think you work with Jacob on
Yeah.
that, because we just
Yeah. changed
the rules to allow him to help pick the materials and things like that. The council just passed that.
You guys were asking setbacks, is that what you're asking, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious how it worked here, if you're doing the conservation over top, if the base, if you're doing it in R12's base applies minus
We got the setback
percentages.
section right on it, I'm sorry. The front setback's 25, side's 10, and the rear's 25. My bad.
Okay, so same, just reduce rear.
Well, yeah, just reduce
Just
rear.
reduce rear, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, yeah. I got the table, that's right.
So at this point, Art, what's our procedure?
It'd be cleaner if you could just, if you're finished with, you have all the information you need, acknowledge that you're done, close this out, and then he'll be able to go on and start prepping up for the next level.
Are we gonna, do we allow public comment on this
That's,
item?
Yeah.
or-
this is really not a workshop.
Okay.
But, again, it's the commission's choice.
So we'll go ahead and allow public comment. At this time, that's feedback that we've got for you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. At this time, we're gonna open it up for public comment. Again, if you have something you'd like to attach to it, and this would give the developer and the commission any other ideas or thoughts, we'd ask that you come up and you sign in, and we'll go from there. Is there anybody that would like to speak?
My name's Hap Wheeler, and I live at 201 Augusta Road. Which is within a couple hundred feet of the development that's going on. In a previous consideration for development of this property, a couple of us came to the meeting, and we got an agreement that the wooded areas that are behind the Rock Creek area or behind any of the proposed houses would be retained. That is to say that it would not be logged off. And as a matter of fact, we had an agreement that nothing above 6 inches at diameter breast height would be removed from that area. Well, you understand you have to clear the lots, but anything behind those lots which adjoins some of our properties would be maintained as a buffer and as a wooded area because Clemson is drastically losing its green space. I might also suggest that as a covenant with the developer that they remove the invasives. The Eleagus, the wisteria, the privet, and remove or at least kill the ivy that's climbing the trees. Otherwise, it's going to be a major safety hazard, and it will be extremely expensive to remove them when the trees are killed. And many of them are in danger right now, so that I think that the city should demand that the developer remove the invasives and clear the ivy from the trees, or at least cut them off, cut the ivy off, but retain the wooded area.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Scott Brand. I live, that's my lot right there. That little piece that sticks in there and you're like, what is it going on there? But so I'm directly affected by this probably as much as anybody. And I want to know exactly what are we call them regulations possibly, for a conservation area. Is there any model for this in Clemson? I mean, who's done this before?
This is our first conservation subdivision in Clemson. There are regulations, basically what you kind of said, the 6-inch trees over 6-inch diameter need to be retained. That's basically, the intention is to leave the open space in an undisturbed state except for some trails.
Good. The reason I'm here is because the owner and some other person, wasn't this young man, I don't think, we met, right? Were behind my house just a month ago telling me that they were going to clear cut, log it, and build a house in my backyard. And I was trying to explain that that wasn't the agreement that they'd come to, because I was at this meeting 20 plus years ago when we went through the original, and set some of those 6-inch DBH. So I was somewhat concerned, and I also, they built the retention pond, right?
Yes.
So that seems to drain all of these properties that he's already built on. He doesn't have to build another retention pond because from what I can tell, he built his retention pond, cut down all the trees in the conservation area.
Can I?
Yeah.
So of the 5.5 acres plus of conservation, we've only disturbed less than an acre to build a retention pond?
Yeah, well, that's
And-
1/5.
Okay.
And we still have to do water quality for all the remaining lots.
I don't know what that means.
Okay.
That's a question. What does that mean?
It means that we have to handle and treat the water so that we're not putting more silt and we're not affecting a natural creek with the increase in water flow.
Okay. So there is no requirement to build an additional retention pond for these additional units?
No.
And once you go and do this wetlands survey, which has already been done, and you have the results of that, I assume, correct?
I do not, and per state law, the wetland study has to be done within the last 48 months.
Okay, so this map will get updated to reflect that?
Correct.
And you anticipate what, again, is gonna happen on the result of that?
I think that it'll probably change a little bit based on the results of that.
Can you give me some insight into what those changes might be?
I don't have, I'm sorry, but I would be guessing if I told you anything.
All right.
I'm not,
And
I don't know how to
they
do
will
it.
have to come back to, he will come back to us with any changes and the results of the survey and all those things. This is the first of just 3.
I understand.
This is the first time we've seen it, so we will have that data.
At the second meeting, you said there's gonna be 3 meetings, right? Or 3
Isn't that right, Art?
planning commission
Yes.
meetings?
Yes, there'll be 3 meetings, but he'll have that data before the second meeting. Yep.
Okay. And all of the areas that I see outlined in black, which represent, other than the conservation area, which isn't within those houses, is all that area gonna be clear cut?
Can you ask that again?
What he was asking in the area that,
All the
not
lots?
the houses, was it all gonna be clear cut?
It is not a lot, no. That's the whole point of conservation development.
Well, I'm not talking about the areas that are in conservation, and I just want to make sure that on this map you presented to us, if it's not an actual lot with a number, then it's part of the conservation set aside or?
So that's what will be determined during the second presentation.
All right. It is interesting also to me that it says there will be no new roads constructed. And I'm not quite sure what the difference between a new road and an alley is. Because these people who are in 5, 6, 7, and 8, it clearly looks to me like they need a road to access their lot. If they're on Rock Creek Road, I understand they have a little thing behind them that y'all talked about, but 5, 6, 7, and 8 looks like a new road to me. And I was just trying to clarify what that meant. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you for your comments.
What was his address? What was your address again?
207 Augusta Road. And 5, 6, 7, and 8, they butt the houses that are on there on Upper Highland.
Any other comments?
My name is William Brown, and I'm at 311 Rock Creek, which is, I think according to the map, it's the stream, I think, that goes in between maybe 12 and 13. And as you mentioned, there's the potential for increased water flow and drainage through that creek. During times of heavy rain or even sort of normal rain, there isn't very good drainage in that area, so the street will overflow. The overflow goes through the creek, but it also goes in between my house and my neighbor's house to the right now. So I didn't know if there was a plan to attempt some type of remediation, if there's going to be increased water flow, as you mentioned, to alleviate that and to cause, if there is increased water, there will be flooding. Is there a plan to remediate that?
So doesn't that, Jacob or Nathan?
Yeah, this will go through a full stormwater review with our stormwater manager at the city. And so he will, any measures that to tamper increased flow and water quality, like the gentleman said, will be addressed during that review.
Okay, is the same notification for those hearings given as this one?
We can, get with Ethan to give us an update, before that next meeting, absolutely. If it's available, I assume, once we get that done, absolutely, I'd be happy to address that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Are
Go ahead.
are you on the other side of Rock Creek Road? I'm totally confused.
Yes.
I think he's right across from almost where that road is.
You're on the other side
Yeah, I
of
was
the
looking, he's
development. You're
across the
opposite
street.
of the development, right?
Yeah,
You got
I'm
to
gonna
show
have
you
to-
right here.
Yeah,
Here it is.
North side of Rock Creek.
yes, that's it.
He said he was in front of lot 11 and 12, is that?
Right.
If I'm looking at the map correctly,
Yeah.
if that's where that.
That's where it is. Show her.
Just trying to make sure.
Yeah.
You see it, John, or you want
Yeah,
to see it? You got it?
Well, from my figuring, I'm assuming it's pretty close to
Yeah.
where the road is.
That's right.
Oh, it's where 4 is.
Yeah, if you wanted to see it, we got it pulled up. Here.
Oh, it's in the middle, okay. I was saying it's further down.
That's in the middle.
It's a
Okay.
little.
Oh, yeah.
Just want to make sure.
I guess, instead of 12 and 13.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we got you.
Okay.
We just wanted to see, if we try to look these up so we are in the same place you are.
Sure, thank you, appreciate it.
Any other comments at this point in time?
Could I make one more comment, please?
Yes, sir.
Same guy.
Just state your name again for the record.
Yeah, I'm Hap Wheeler at 201 Augusta Road.
Okay.
Is this retention pond going to be aerated? Because it's going to be a mosquito hazard if it isn't.
But that'll be up to whatever city
Stormwater
code
manager,
is.
but my understanding is not a retention pond, but a detention pond, right? Is that how you're designing, or is it a retention?
To be honest, I'd have to talk to Jamie and Wesley if they're not here
Okay.
tonight to.
Yeah, I have to
give you
check
a
with
positive
stormwater
answer to that
manager.
word.
So
There's a difference between different types of detention and retention ponds. Usually a detention pond would be, in this case, where it can't hold water for more than 48 hours. But, I'll see how the design is from the stormwater manager.
Well, if there's any standing water, you know what,
Yes.
you know what South Carolina's like. It'll be a mosquito haven.
yes, sir.
And you all are aware that an awful lot of water runs through that woods. I know that was part of the planning, but the back of our property, I've dug a ditch, and when it rains hard, millions of gallons of water pour right into this area. So, you know, to be aware of that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Make another one while we're at it.
One more.
5 qualifications. I am a groundwater hydrogeologist at the university. And if there is the nature of the soils here, which are very clay in nature, they don't drain well at all. And so if there's any rainfall, it will be a retention pond. And it will not drain within 48 hours.
Thank you. Okay, we'll close that out and move forward to the next step unless commissioners have any other comments at this point. I think we've also heard the concerns and other things, but please, everybody understand with the city code, stormwater management, those types of things, once they design it, it goes through these departments, they have to be DHEC regulated as well, but ours actually in Clemson are more stringent than that. And so it has to go through Ethan, and at any point, if that is not working, then they have to go back and come up with another plan. That's just how that works. And I want to assure everybody that that is part of the process in the planning department of the engineers and of Ethan. We have one person. He does his job very, 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 very thorough. I have dealt with Ethan in different stormwater things personally, and he's very thorough. So I just want to assure you that'll happen. So we'll go ahead and.
Can I ask one more question, just real quick?
Yeah, sure you can.
Hey, is there any plan to connect the two sides?
No, just because of the creek and the wetlands.
Right, I know there's gonna be like pedestrian bridge, where you just go up and over, okay.
That wouldn't be through walking trails?
I hope not.
So for these people to access the grilling area and everything by the pond or whatever,
Have to do,
they
you
go
don't have
out
to
at
do
the
a sidewalk down
sidewalk,
the front, yeah, you have to go down the
Yeah,
sidewalk.
out front.
up, out and around, okay?
Yeah, got it?
Is any of that on the Green Crescent Trail?
That I do not know. I think eventually,
There's a spur there, I believe, I don't have the map in front of me.
I don't either.
Yeah.
but
put that on the list of
Just something
questions.
I was thinking about.
We ready to move on?
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out the possible connection between that alleyway and then over, if it was gonna be out and around or back through there.
Okay, there are no action items this time. Are there any advisory items? No advisory items? So we do have a discussion item tonight, and Nathan is going to come and talk about neighborhood conservation overlays, something that people in town have been asking for a long time. Much discussion has gone through over the days and weeks and months. And so,
No problem.
Nathan, if you would.
We good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm gonna start off by saying, while there are certain developments in town, particularly student housing along College Avenue, that seem to create the most chatter around town and most controversy, believe it or not, the things that consume more or at a minimum equal amount of time are single lot subdivisions within neighborhoods. I think you just got a taste of that this evening, even though this is a much larger subdivision. But particularly in the two downtown neighborhoods, which we will call Coldwater Springs, which is the original name for the Riggs side, and Sloan Poe, which is the other side. Those neighborhoods, single lot subdivisions and any new development within those tends to lend itself to at least a lot of office discussion with neighborhoods. So based on those two factors, the pressure combined with the pressure we see on College Avenue of consistent developers coming to us on that, plus the university on the 93 side. These two neighborhoods are unique in that they feel pressure for really three sides if you count 123, but of mixed use. So there's going to be a lot of questions later on as I go through this presentation, which I'm going to hit at a very high level. And I want to start, I should have started this again. This is a draft of a draft, and I know this is going to go bonkers online, but this is a draft of a draft at this point. This is something Jacob and Art and I have ping-ponged around in the office. We're bringing it to you because we think there's some good stuff. I have discussed it with several members of the neighborhood already, just to get feedback. Is it too much? Is it too little? And I think through my continuing to do that, discussions with you guys, we're probably going to wind up somewhere that we want to go. That being said, we're calling this the Neighborhood Conservation Overlay, NC1. The purpose, and I'm going to read a lot tonight, but the purpose is for these two neighborhoods is to maintain the setting and, of the area, minimizing changes to the neighborhood and its remaining architectural convention. Why? Adjacent to both College Avenue and Highway 93 commercial districts, these two warrant additional cover from development. Clemson's mixed-use commercial corridors are its center for growth and will continue to be pressure as our town realizes the growth of the region. I sold Christmas trees over here this week on Saturday and Sunday with Sertoma. Traffic was going crazy. People are out shopping. I give a canned talk. Brian's heard it. A lot of you heard it. We're dead center between Charlotte and Atlanta. If we could, I promise you guys, and I'll be called a liar later online, but if I could stop student housing development in Clemson today, it would pile up at our exteriors and we would still feel development pressure from folks moving here. I had a developer just the other day tell me that he builds custom homes. He closed his website because he's getting 7 to 10 meetings with couples over the age of 55 per week that wanted to move to Clemson, and he only had like 11 lots. So that's the type of pressure we're feeling. This is the very, very, very draft map. You'll see what's not included are areas along College and areas that have zonings other than R20. So a lot of they're sprinkled throughout here are some RM4 lots, RM3 plots as well. Ones that will be discussed ad nauseum. You'll notice this, I'm gonna walk a little bit here. If you go on the Sloan Street side, you'll notice that cutout on Edgewood, those are the Edgewood Arms apartments. As well going down the hill, those are the Sloan Street apartments. And then on the rig side, our cutoff was Knox. And that is a combination of where development's currently at and prowling through old zoning codes and old land use plans. On the other side, our cutoff is hedgerow. We realize that'll be a little bit more discussed, but our purpose there, our reasoning there was during the comprehensive planning process, we have letters from several property owners on the North Clemson Avenue that are looking to upzone. At the corner of essentially, once you get behind the row of townhouses at the corner of North Clemson and Pine, there are two new duplexes, relatively new duplexes right there. That is what those property owners along North Clemson envision continuing down there on both sides. So if you think about, hate to bring it up, but the development we heard from before, if you have a pedestrian corridor along North Clemson with those type of duplexes, maybe even quad or triplex and townhomes, that does fill a need of missing middle housing in town. Plus, it is a direct cut through, for lack of a better term, from that side of town to downtown. So that's the reasoning here. We also see much of what's below that line. I can give a count. I've got it in the office. Unfortunately, didn't bring it, but much of what's already there is student housing and or rentals of a certain type. So very, very, very preliminary. Jacob and I are going to tag team some of this. I'm going to force him, but here we go. Guidelines covering new construction. I'm going to hit these. There are 8, and then I'm going to get to some of the more even things that are bound to be discussed even more. All new homes will require approval of the Board of Architectural and major additions will require BAR approval. This will add about 3 months to a new home build or addition because you are going through a similar you're going through three meetings at minimum for that approval. Of course, exterior alterations not visible won't have to. Interior won't have to. Number 4, all new homes are subject to the city's site management plan during construction. Site management plan, for those of you not familiar, if you're a builder downtown or a builder anywhere in the city of a certain size, we require you to sign a document. Many developers and maybe even Brian would tell you that it can be sometimes overkill and it can be very taxing on the folks at construction. But what it does, at minimum, sets construction hours from, say, 7A to 7P. It requires you to clean dust and mud off the road at the end of every day, set where your drop-off sites are going to be, your delivery sites, all that. So that is in place already for every commercial development. We are now transitioning that for these neighborhoods for residential developments. We have had, there are 4 houses, I believe, currently under construction in these 2 neighborhoods, and the amount of calls that we receive based on the things I just talked about are much greater than, well, I shouldn't say much greater, are at least equal to construction you see on College Avenue. And so we thought that would be important to address to set expectations for the homeowner and the contractor. And to go along with that, we just hired a project manager for the city that will start in January. This will fall under his purview. This is something we've heard from residents, but carports and garage doors shouldn't face the street, except when there's no alternative. 6 is something that we discussed at Planning Commission in the past, and it was tossed, but that the design of detached garages and carports and the materials which they're constructed should be consistent with the character of the main structure. One of the more controversial things we've had since my time being here is a accessory dwelling unit garage on rigs that neighbors were not happy with, mainly due to the materials of that ADU not matching the home. This will take care of that. 7, houses built on corner lots will finish all sides to be appropriate. 8, properties within the district are limited to 1 accessory dwelling unit per lot. This one, accessory dwelling unit, again, to remind you, garage bottom, apartment up top. Yes, in these neighborhoods, many of those are going to be used as game day rentals. Some will be used as full-time rentals. We have many property owners that don't have the space for them. Jacob denies them frequently just because they can't maintain their lot coverage, or go over that. But we feel that it would be hard for me, even knowing the character and consistency of neighborhoods, it would be hard for me to tell you as a planning commission not to allow accessory dwelling units where an apartment can be in the middle of an affordable housing crisis. So that's where I'm going to stand on that one. Site standards. Planned developments are not allowed for properties located within NC1 overlay district. You heard a lot during 398, you hear a lot in every development, you heard a lot in this development. We're worried that these developments will creep into the neighborhood. Much has been made about how we should lower the minimum required acreage of a PD, increase it. Right now it's 2, we've heard increase it to 4, increase it to 5. What is true and what I will preach until I'm not here anymore is that residential property will always be less expensive than commercial property. And so if I expand that PD acreage greater, all that's going to do is incentivize developers with endless pots of cash to go up, buy more neighborhoods. I am crucified for saying that online regularly, but I think tomorrow, if Moda was a great example. They were almost at 2 acres. They needed a sliver to get there. They were like 1.96 to begin with. City, when we have a precedent, we will not. There was right away there that the city could have given them. Council at the time said absolutely not, so they went and bought the law office next door to get their PD. If I were to increase that to 5, say they needed 5, they would have gone all up and down Knox and bought every home there. And the argument back will be, oh, well, those folks will never sell. Well, I won't either until the right person comes along with the right amount. Here, all new lot subdivisions must maintain the 20,000 square feet, which is consistent with the R20. This one will be controversial. The minimum lot frontage for a new lot shall be no less than the average of the 2 adjacent lots on either side. What we have seen, this will prevent some development. There's certain lots that I can think of, especially on the rig side, where you do have lot frontage, or if you subdivided, you could have lot frontage, but you just have a sliver to a bigger lot behind several houses. This will likely prevent some of that from happening. This is, number 4 is long, but it's basically just saying that the setback should be in line with the, inconsistent with houses. We don't want, 100 feet off the road and 120 feet off the road. Same with number 5, sorry. Number 6, new lots created by subdivision will avoid irregular shapes and side lot lines being perpendicular to the road. What we've seen a lot of times is if there is a subdividable lot, we'll work ourselves around other people's driveways and trees and stuff to get that lot to fit. What we want for consistency and to just create a better built environment are straight lots where we're not, we don't want neighbors, number 1, guessing where each other's property line is, and we want it to make sense as we can, as lots begin to build. We have seen in both of these areas recently, I'm sure you've heard about it, homes built in the 60s, 70s, even 80s, being torn down to be built for new development. We expect that trend to continue. There are instances where we've had over $500,000 homes torn down to be built for new homes. We expect that to continue, but we do want that to be done in some sort of order if that's going to continue. All construction plans shall assess and take into account the drainage on both properties. You heard that as a big issue tonight. That's something that's already done, but we just want to put it in code as part of this overlay. All new developments or major modifications to existing development will require the construction of the sidewalks and any streetscape prescribed and/or fee in lieu. A lot of this, so Strawberry is a great example of a place where sidewalks won't work well because of the drop off in topography. So you'd still be required to pay that fee in lieu if you were to build there to the city, where we could go build sidewalks elsewhere in the same area. And then number 9 is basically to avoid on-street parking. 10 is, there's a table that I should have included here that you will be required to adhere to those landscaping standards. 11, we are going to require you to map all mature trees and describe the measures that will be taken to conserve them, minimizing the loss of those prior to applying for your building permit. 12, you should be minimizing the amount of grading you're doing to preserve the loss of mature trees. 13, you got to provide for at least 4 on your property that will reach 50 feet in height, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and then 14 ornamental trees as well. And that is the beginning and end of the draft. I just want to get in front of you guys early. There are neighbors in both of these neighborhoods that are going to hug me when they hear about this, and there are some that are going to throw stones at both Jacob and I. We're accustomed to that, and so that is our expectation. But really tonight, my question for you, which is the same question I've been asking the neighbors that I've met with, is this too far? Does this go far enough? Is it your expectation? I have warned everyone that I've met with that coinciding after this, there will be we will bring you a reasonable buy right option for College Avenue. And by right, I mean the original intent of lowering the stories. You can watch the recording. I'm happy to send it to you. The original intent of lowering the height on College Avenue to 3 stories was temporary. It was supposed to expire after 180 days after the passage of Clemson next. That passed. That height limit was never increased. And so basically what you see now are PDs, and while we've reaped a lot of benefit from those PDs, at some level it's a way to overcome the height barrier of 3 stories. So you've got 6 at the Bixby, you've got 5 at Moda, you've got 7 at Kiwi Trail, and you've got 8 at 398. And so there's a median in there somewhere that I think all logical people can get behind. And I don't know what that is, and that's for us to discuss at some point in time. But what I think that does, especially when you take into account what's left to be, that can be built on College Avenue that doesn't exist as a place of worship or else, is that I think what annoys residents as well as staff and council and planning commission and developers is the uncertainty of what's going to come. Because every time you're getting a new plan and you're coming back and like, is it going to be 7? Is it going to be 5? This time we were okay with 5 on the back, and this time we're not okay with 3 on the back. And so we really, as a staff, appreciate everything you guys do, but I mean, we know that there's a lot of factors in your decision, so we can't really plan based on proposals that are going to come to you because we're not, as much as we talk to you, we don't know where you're going to go or council. So by providing that, whatever that height is, it gives consistency and like, hey, this is it. And something that Greenville's done that we think we're going to copy because all good urban planning is ripping stuff from elsewhere, a lot of this was ripped. Greenville's artificially set a lower height in some of their downtown properties with an option to pay in per square foot. That rids us of this, hey, here's $500,000 for the Affordable Housing Fund. So, hey, let's say I set Moda's a great example. Those floors are 43,000 feet, 43,500 square feet. So let's say if the by right option was 3 there, but they wanted to go 5, well, they can go 5, but they're paying me $870,000 to get there. As well as this ordinance will require the streetscape to be implemented downtown, require some of the parking that we've negotiated in the past. At least, yes.
Are they paying the city of Clemson? Because sometimes these
Yeah.
get sent to the
Yeah,
county.
in this
and-
case, it would be a fund. And again, we don't know yet. This
Okay.
is super draft. Greenville's additional cost per square foot is $2.50 a square foot. I think we can go 5 times that in Clemson. So that's why I say it basically $10 a square foot. And will that prevent development? Sometimes, sometimes not. But at least the development that comes will be consistent. I've had, in this process and in recent weeks with before the passage 398 and after the passage 398 on the heels of 201 Pine, tons of residents come to me like, how do we stop this? How do we stop this? Well, I don't know that we do, and I'm being as honest as I can be to you guys. That if it's not in Clemson, it's definitely on the edges in Central or Seneca. We can see that right now. I'm not sure that creates the best traffic environment that we want to live in. So this is where we're at. Again, those are my questions. Feel free to, John does this a lot, feel free to digest and write me if that's easier for you as you chew it up and think about it. But we know what we're getting into, so.
And the idea behind this is to protect
Absolutely.
the neighborhoods.
Yeah, and let me give some history on that too. That's something I'm glad you reminded me. So I arrived here almost 3 years ago. My anniversary is in February. So for 3 years, basically, I've heard, well, we want to protect our neighborhoods. We want to protect our neighborhoods. And but there's a couple of questions that I have there, just not as a smart aleck, but as a planner. What does that mean? What neighborhoods? Because we seem to be okay building against some and not okay against building others. So as you dive into the old comp plans and the old zoning codes, the phrase protect our neighborhoods does show up in the comp plan. It is not in zoning code. But the first instance of that, protect our neighborhoods, its original intent, as best I can tell, and I'm happy to be wrong, was to implement the rental housing program to drive students out of the neighborhood, the downtown neighborhoods where they were consistently at. So when we lowered the occupancy to 2 and put the rental housing in place where we inspect the homes and things like that, it did, that's what the original intent was. What happened is that worked to a large extent. We did drive students out of the downtown neighborhoods, but then students needed somewhere to go, and they still wanted to be downtown. And so it's a cycle of we are sort of reaping what we sow in some sense. And so we think that's the original intent. The first time I can find it, I think, was like the 2004 comp plan under Mayor Abernathy, and it gives there's a tiny blurb there about protect our neighborhoods, but it is again, it's a blurb in a 200-page document. So I think this does that. You also have to keep in mind that this comes on the heels of what you guys did, and thank you, of passing larger buffer standards. So there's already protections in place by right, not in the plan development, because all that's negotiated. But at the by right option, there are already standards in place to create a buffer of protection from the neighborhoods.
Which there always was. We just increased it. If y'all remember, this past year, we just increased it significantly.
And then I think I want to address a few of the things that I think are bound to come up. Why not put this on every residential neighborhood in the city of Clemson? The answer there is not every residential neighborhood feels the pressure of these two neighborhoods. Not every residential neighborhood is against the CM districts where you have mixed use. There are plenty of neighborhoods, Pendleton Road, where you have commercial. So, I mean, I live in Monaco, you know, Walmart's right there. That's a thing. But these, Jacob, Art, and I feel like these neighborhoods feel undue pressure than the rest of those right now. I think, and again, I know critics would tell you otherwise, you would be hard pressed to, as a developer, to roll into town and propose a planned student housing development in the middle of Ashley Estates and have any traction with this commission or city council. The only reason this neighborhood feels pressure is by nature of its location to the university. So that's why that. And so that what does this really do? It protects the neighborhood. If this were to pass, this would be one of the more restrictive ordinances of its kind in the state. This is sort of a combination of obviously architectural standards, zoning code, historic zoning at some level, even though these homes don't meet the criteria necessarily. And then, you know, the other thing that we're going to hear is, rather than doing this, why not just remove the ability to do a PD on College Avenue and prevent all of this? And I think the answer there is, number one, Clemson Next effectively prescribes PDs for downtown to leverage the benefits, which we've done to great gain for the city, but at great angst of the residents. And then I think that actually plays into, we'll also be rolling out a buy right option, which I think will be palatable enough to for developers that you will begin to see less PDs, if at all, on College Avenue. And then, you know, again, another thing is like, well, this still won't really protect students from living in the neighborhood. That's correct. We have students buying up homes in both of these neighborhoods at rapid pace, to the tune of millions of dollars homes. I, as planning director, assistant administrator, you as planning, we cannot stop that. There was a home built on Riggs recently, sold for $850,000. Arizona student is what we're told is living there. So we're not going to stop that. And then the other thing you're going to hear about a lot, so I think that term protect our neighborhoods has been hijacked and has meant different things at different times. Another term like that you hear is, what about transition zones? We've heard a lot about that. I also believe that's been hijacked and used for different purposes at different times. But if I'm understanding what people are thinking about, right, in planning school, they'll teach you about a transect model, and that is agriculture is your most intense, then manufacturing, then something, then multifamily, then single family. But the transition from multifamily with commercial on the bottom, which is what we're seeing, and single family those are never at odds from a theoretical planning standpoint. You think about the best places that you go to, that you probably go on vacation, the boardwalk or the main commercial district is right against one of the most historic neighborhoods in town, most likely. All of Charleston's like that. I can rattle off, there's neighborhoods in Austin, Nashville, I can name all the best places. Yes, Clemson is much smaller than all those. But the idea that if you take where we were at before, let's say 93 is a good example. You have intense commercial on 93, to multifamily housing, to single family housing is theoretical planning way it's supposed to work. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're protecting single family from multifamily. Oftentimes, we haven't developed like this in Clemson, but you'll have Patrick Square is a good example. I mean, you'll have multifamily in the middle of single family, and if they're built right, it doesn't affect anyone or notice it. Obviously, there's some height differences in what we've been discussing recently, but we see that continuing. So really here tonight, again, just lay it all out. Too much, not enough. What do you want me to add? What do you want me to strip?
I have a question, like Edgewood and Wigington.
Yep.
There's like one house on the corner that's the conservation overlay.
Yep. The map's gonna be a big discussion.
I know,
Yeah.
and I get it, that this is just initial, but why choose to keep a house there?
Because that's not, the other is already a PD from the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So that house is the house that was just redone on the corner there of Wigington and Edgewood.
The white one.
It's
I
R20.
know where it is, I'm
That's
just
Much of the re-
curious on this map how
Yep.
it turned
Much of the
out.
rest of that is the Catholic Church PD.
Is it part of the PD already?
And so we were trying to, we want our standard to be defensible, so we were trying to say, hey, these are R20 lots.
Oh, all of this is Catholic Church.
Yes.
Yeah.
They bought all those houses.
That's their little driveway right there. If I'm not mistaken, that little single coming off of Sloan and then the fork, that's just the Catholic Church's driveway, right? And parking
Yes,
lot.
I think you're right.
Okay, I
And then that's the
understand.
apartment complex
Okay.
right there.
And then the one on the other side of Edgewood is Arms?
Edgewood Arms,
yeah.
The
Okay.
white buildings.
Yeah.
And those have a
And
different zoning
And
now.
then the other ones down here closer are the parking lots for the Presbyterian Church.
Okay.
Yep. And we know that the first pushback on this is to expand it much greater than it is, but we tried to have some real thinking behind where we drew the lines. Ultimately, we're gonna have to draw a line, which not anyone's gonna be happy with. But on that map, much of what's not marked is, again, either existing student housing, existing rentals, or zone something other than R20.
Yeah, my only thing is, of course, I don't live downtown, so I don't deal with it every day, as residents do, but I would still think anything that would be this, major, I would say this is just reading through, and even though this is extremely preliminary, this is a major, change
Huge, yeah.
to that area that you would need, I don't know, 75% of the residents to sign off on agreement with it. I just wonder about the legalities of it, if you just come in and say, well, now we're gonna throw this on you without having a certain percentage, and that may be something that our staff attorney would need to look at and say, what's a reasonable amount?
Yep. That's good.
Because truthfully, what is, over the last 5 years, has become an unaffordable area of town to live for lower income, middle income, possibly even middle to upper income, is unattainable to live down there, will further that. And what you worry about is that if it is in 30 years with this, there's nobody that lives down there full-time. Because you price everybody locally out of the market.
No, it's a real, yeah, absolutely, real concern.
I don't know, like, what's the thinking behind all the design restrictions and things like that? I understand like the access and not the on-street parking, like that's a lot use type thing, but as far as like the design standards being implemented and having things that have to go this and this has to match.
Yep. Short answer is resident. It's pushing us to go that direction. Longer answer is, when we redo the zoning code, we will do a unified development ordinance rather than a zoning code, so your architectural standards and your zoning code will be mixed together. We were just preliminary doing that in this overlay. But to your point of why, yeah, I mean, that's a significant change for both of these neighborhoods. to have a board with a say over what they can do.
Right.
And then to add the additional time that it takes to get through that board to do it. I will tell you, however, almost every property owner that I've met with in these neighborhoods wants, if they don't know how to vocalize it, they want say over what's being built near or around them.
Right, that's,
Yeah.
my concern is kind of creating a city HOA, and that kind of may be a little bit of the intent, but I know when we were shopping for a house when we moved, we specifically sought out a place that did not have an HOA. And I know this is a totally separate ballgame down here. You've got longtime residents, you've got people, and then you've got people who buy game day houses, and so there's a whole different batch. But I wonder how much is A, wanting to impose what I like onto B. And that's what I mean is I don't know. That's one of those things where, like Greg was saying, it's like I feel like you'd have to get, like I get here a lot, but like you'd have to get, because that's if you wanted to start an HOA, you can start a neighborhood association. You can get everybody in and say, you know what, we all agree, let's do this, here are the standards we're gonna put in, and we're gonna do it, and we're gonna run it. And once you sign up for it, you're in it. You can't, it's into your deed, and when you sell it, the next people can't back out, and they're aware of it when they buy it versus having it dropped on them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it'll have to have, I agree totally. And even with the nomenclature of city-run HOA,
Right, I mean, that's probably a very rough, loose way to say it, or that's just as close as I can.
No, but that's a fair, absolutely fair characterization.
I think from the standpoint, if you go down there and see what's happening now, there's tons of houses getting redone, just tons. And most of them, the level of architectural review ain't gonna be an issue of the ones that are being torn down and redone because of what people are putting into them and the plans that are being submitted and things. I don't think there's gonna be any rush of that. I think part of the intent is that pressure that everybody is feeling from the outside. Now, me personally, you're not going to get a HOA over there because HOA over there because I'm not signing up for it.
Well,
No, I'm just telling you, point blank, I'm not signing up.
But would you sign up for this?
Would you, if
So
they came by and said, would you support this, would you be one of the 75% or the 25%?
Yes, I will. And the reason I would support it is because we're being demanded that from other residents. The difference between the HOA is it can keep getting stricter and stricter and stricter and stricter and stricter and stricter. With this, once this is done, is how it is. I would do it only because that's what people feel like, the majority of people feel like needs to be done from a planning standpoint of view. The other part is creating the overlays. Even beyond this, some overlays may need to happen in different areas of the catalyst areas in order so we don't keep getting planned unit developments everywhere that we are forced up against us. So what would this have changed? If you go on Woodland Drive, isn't there some lots over there that it would have changed?
Yeah.
What would this have changed if it would have
So
been?
two that I can think of off the top of my head. There were 44,000 square foot lot that was subdivided into two 20,000 square foot lots on Woodland. Very controversial in the neighborhood. That would have still happened under this zoning ordinance. The subdivision would have happened, the building would have happened. What wouldn't have happened is there would have been a tree survey. The trees on the land would have been cataloged and preserved where possible. The homes that are being built through the Board of Architectural Review, the neighbors would have been able to voice what they want there, right, wrong, or indifferent, because they're not particularly happy with what's being done now. Another example is on Riggs. There is a developer built a new house and then redid a house next to it. That was an existing lot of record, but by this ordinance, they would have been required to straighten the lot line as well as to get the required frontage, they would have had to split the difference between the two lots, which, and this is controversial, would have likely resulted in them tearing down the old house and building two new homes instead of building the new home on top of the old house. And neither of those are in line with the homes on that side of the street. Again, very controversial to the neighbors. But those are two real world examples of how this would have been, this would have worked in that neighborhood.
I also think there's another example too. There's another house, I don't know, well, there's another house off of Pool Lane that somebody came in, built, tore down, built,
Yeah.
and has an ADU. It would have prevented some of that. And in this neighborhood, they're also talking about the need for sidewalks and things which can go into this neighborhood, at least on one side, as part of the plan.
Right.
And that would have been paid for in that way. So would I have signed up for it? Not for an HOA. Would I do this from a planning perspective, sitting here with all the concerns that we have heard on the planning commission? I would have to say, as sitting on the planning commission, I would sign up for it because it's the right thing for everybody. Is it the right thing for me? I'm just glad my renovation's done.
I'll say that too. I think that's probably a better way for me to answer this. It's like, all the cards on the table, I'm not sure if any of this is a good idea. I'm bringing it to you based on things we've found and things that we've heard from the neighborhood. So ultimately, what all of this does is slow development and slow change.
And free up
in the-
staff, if there's rules in place.
Potentially, yeah. And I mean, and that's our job, so we're happy to do that. But that check of, there are some people, absolutely, in these neighborhoods, are like, hey, I want to build on that lot. Well, you got to go in front of the Board of Architecture review. I'm out, I'll go find another lot. And we have heard repeatedly from neighbors in both neighborhoods that they don't want essentially change near them.
Well, that's, I mean, so, and the Board of Architecture mentions this there is a little different, but all the other stuff in the examples you gave, that was all land use and layout and all that, and I get that stuff, you know, squaring up the lots and the frontage, and like all that stuff is standard zoning practice being laid over, like, that's great. Like, if that's beneficial to the neighborhoods, and that's fine, it's more of the, you know, because I mean, I used to live back there. Like, you know, they built a great big old nice Craftsman right there on Strawberry.
Beautiful.
You know, I don't know that it necessarily fit the neighboring ones, but it's a beautiful house. You know, and so I don't know if that one gets approved because it doesn't match some of the older ones that were there.
No, and you're absolutely right. I think that's the risk of this. So like the house I'm talking about before, you know, sold for $800 and some $1,000. The neighbors aren't particularly happy about it and consider it to not look like other homes in the neighborhood. The ADU being another example of that was. I mean, if we took 20, we took 100 phone calls about that. How could you let this happen? You know, and well, it met the criteria, the lot cover, you know, had front, so that's how we let it happen. How did you let the other one happen? This type house be built right on top of that house. Well, it was an existing lot of record, and those are the materials they used. So I will say, as hardcore as this is a reaction to the request we've received.
I mean, the BAR is a group of citizens.
Correct.
I look forward to coming to that meeting. That'd be great.
Yep.
See them reversed. With the citizens talking to the citizens instead of where I sit when I have to go in front of the Board of Architecture Review.
Yep.
So it's good for them to interact.
Yeah, I mean, our BAR is made up of currently 2 architects, great, 1 architecture chair, or I don't know what he does now, at the university, we have landscape architects. It's a really, really good board. I mean, you all met them several times, but what happened, how a Board of Architecture Review Board should work and how I think ours works most of the time is the business owner that comes in with a plan, typically, especially without a level of expertise, leaves with a better idea than they came with. I mean, we have, and, you know, to their credit, I have the folks at LV calling me after the fact saying, hey, that was awesome. We didn't think about this on this floor, and so we're adding this, and it's going to make the whole thing look better. And we're like, great, you know. I'll take the other phone call after that to tell me it shouldn't happen, but, you know, it's the same. I mean, it's that they give a lot of really good advice. And I would not expect that to diminish at all in a residential setting, but residential is new for the city of Clemson.
If they want protection, this is a way to do it.
I think the other part is, that's not fun, it will be more expensive. Like you said, Greg, it will be, because the minute you come to the Board of Architectural Review, the guy that drew up my design, I'm gonna have him here. I'm gonna have to have our landscape architect that we had. I'm gonna have our structural engineer here. I'm gonna have those things. But for me, that's hard. But the real question is, does this answer all the things that we have been hearing out of the neighborhoods?
Somebody will
In
still
that
be
pressure.
mad.
So it's gonna be bad. And I have been, everyone I've met with, I'm gonna say it as hardcore as I can. I am and will always be very, very interested in protecting this neighborhood as well as all single-family neighborhoods. One of the things we suffer from in Clemson is not enough single-family neighborhoods, obviously. That's part of the issue with folks moving here, lack of supply. And I am interested in protecting the neighborhoods from encroachment, but I am not, from an urban planning perspective, I cannot tell you that I can spend a ton of time concerning myself protecting the entrance of neighborhoods or neighborhoods from denser living quarters near them, because it's just not possible in the land area that we have. Today, I mean, I live in Monaco. Berkeley's zoned, single family, and I expect that to continue for years. But if we keep growing like we do, there will be a day likely that someone's standing in front of you guys, just like the guy was tonight, asking for townhomes to be built all up and down Berkeley, Issaquena, all of your major corridors where you're going to have density. And it just so happens that this major corridor where these are located is one of the most vibrant, I'll argue, in the state, although I know a lot of people argue against that. And at minimum, it's the one with the most focus from out of town and local developers. So, yes, but anytime you suppress, anytime you add barriers in front of the ability to develop, you are suppressing supply. So yeah, there is a cost associated with all this.
One more is, so for the number 8, where it's limiting to one accessory dwelling unit.
Yep.
Is there a reason to add that into the overlay? Isn't that already standard for all properties?
Yes and no. I can show you properties where
I can think of a property that's 2 houses on one, like, I can think of a grandfathered situation currently where there's 2 houses on one lot, if that's the one you're thinking of.
Okay, so you have a real accessory dwelling unit in the backyard, and then you have a garage with a garage apartment next to it with a causeway between the house and the garage apartment. That essentially is functioning as an additional ADU, which we would count the garage portion of it and not allow the second one.
Which we do have
Which
that
we have
in our neighborhood.
all over the place, yeah. Or let's say the main garage for the house is detached.
Okay,
but with take the causeway away.
right.
Because even if it existed, you could knock it off. And so that's a living quarter above that, and then you go and build a living quarter in the backyard.
Right, but you're not allowed to do that. Like, you can't, I mean, you can have family live, like, if I had that set up, like,
Yep.
I could live there, my daughter, when she gets to high school, could say, you know, I don't want space, she'll live in the apartment over the garage, and then, you know, I could Airbnb the one in the back, but
No, I can zone in on that and figure.
that's what I was trying to, is what I see what you're saying about, okay, that gives 2 ADUs, but we still have to permit the use of those
Correct.
for rentals and stuff.
Yeah.
If it's family, then that just falls under the occupancy stuff.
Correct, yep. Yeah, it may be not needed, we can take a look.
No,
at
I
it.
mean, I was just curious if there was something else in there, it's like, okay, that, you know, that covers this, it's like, well, okay, I mean,
I think the more clarity we give, the better. So if it doesn't hurt anything, I'd rather it say that than open for
Yeah, you guys,
interpretation.
you're not gonna, I hope you
Yeah,
are.
I mean,
You're
me
never gonna hurt my
personally,
feelings.
you know, words matters just like in PDs. I'd rather, if that's what we mean, we need to say that's what we mean and not assume it.
Well, and John, I mean, I'm calling you out because you are particularly good at this, but like, I want you to think, the way we're trying to think through around these is like, what's the workaround?
right.
For this?
Well,
If there's a workaround, I want to word it in such a way that there's not a workaround. Because I don't want to, last thing I want to do is pass this and then the first house is built figures out a way around it. So that's kind of how the lens we're trying to think of.
Okay, well, that's why I didn't know if there was a reason that was in here. It's like, okay, hey, we thought of this one thing where it's, the way it's currently worded, if you have, you know, 150% lot size, say, but I've only got one, but that gives me enough square footage where I can squeeze this, and but then I, you know, like if there was some twist that this sewed up, but.
Well, somebody could come in, I can tell you, somebody could come in here and build some under the guise of one thing and put a bedroom in the back of it. So you could come in and build a,
Which has happened, but we try to.
Right.
But yeah.
Right, well, I was gonna say, but that's illegal. I mean, well, but it would be illegal under this too. They could do the same thing once it got approved.
And that's the thing, I mean,
My only point with that is I worry about when you start saying the same thing in a bunch of different places, when you go to change it later or do something later or whatever, you miss one place and then that creates an issue, or, you know, or now we've got a conflict. Well, it says here, but then it says here, and so now here's our conflict of what says what and which one do we go by. That's my only issue with it. It's not that I think that having one ADU is a bad idea.
No,
Like, I'm just curious as to why it was
I'm not
part of
taking
it.
it like that, but you described our current zoning code basically.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
but this is the beginning of the
Yeah.
Right, well,
rewrite of the zoning
That's
code.
what I was asking.
And I mean, I would think though, even if this goes through and is approved, and it could still be updated.
Oh, it's still be updated, I mean, yeah, so on the horizon, you have a full zoning code there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which will.
Because I mean, one thing it just hit me too, that, you know, I don't think any of us were sitting up here 20 years ago when that subdivision was passed. And, you know, there's probably agreements or things that were said, back then.
We're starting over. I mean, we're
I
starting
get,
over.
no, but what I'm saying though is this right here, words matter is what we're talking
That's
about.
exactly
And having
right.
it in writing, like John said, you're not having all these different interpretations. You've got it that way because 20 years when it
Yeah.
comes back, if it doesn't change, then it's the way it's supposed to be.
And again, I have friends in this neighborhood that are gonna be totally against this. I mean, I get it. And then, but I have to weigh that, like if you boil down everything that's been controversial that we've dealt with in the recent past, it is how it has affected these two neighborhoods. And I empathize with that. I mean, there's some real validity there.
So what's our next step here?
Bring me any suggestions and feedback you have, preferably by email so that I can keep up with it. And then sit tight while we keep hammering. And then, I mean, this won't be a fast process, but we would like to keep it moving so that we have something to show by, say, in the first quarter, to you that you guys will go, I mean, and ultimately, that's the thing, is like, staff, we can come up with whatever we want to, but ultimately, you guys and council, will
So-
continue to refine.
So can we survey each address? I mean, is there a way to get feedback that can be presented with facts? I mean, where someone is not answering a question for 7 friends down the street, you know, but it's tied to a something,
Yeah.
utility bill or something, where you get 1 vote per lot? No, I know I'm making it
No, you're not.
complicated.
I'm
just
trying to think of
would-
the way to word this, and not get myself in trouble.
Well, they're
Yes.
gonna, anytime you.
I expect I kicked,
Say
I
maybe.
expect I kicked it off tonight by standing up here talking about this at all. But there will be as soon as we leave this room tonight, there will be a massive misinformation campaign about what's been proposed and what, on both sides.
Right.
And so I want to I need to really think about the best way to deal with that. But yes, I do agree that we need buy-in. But it's the same thing, I think you have, an overlay is different than than necessarily like a zoning code rewrite, because just because I rezone something RM4 doesn't mean you have to tear down your single-family house and build to that standard. The overlay does mean that you will meet these criteria the next time you go for a build or an addition. So it is
But an overlay can always be removed,
true.
just like we've removed one here to change the facing on the lake on Highway
Yeah, that's a good example.
123. We just removed it. So the bill would be that way. There was an overlay. And also on 93, the direction that it did, but it made sense when it was put in. It really made sense when it was put in. But it got to the point that it quit making sense.
Yep. And now, you know, you're gonna have, your mid, whatever, decade census coming out soon, so we'll get estimates. I mean, I expect that the city of Clemson population has grown considerably, and that will continue. So, and that, a
So-
lot of that is outside the university.
So we have lots in our neighborhood. If you're building a new house, does anything get approved by BAR
No,
right now? You can build anything you want.
as long as you meet the, lot coverage and the setbacks and, yeah.
Yeah, there's the height maximum and stuff like that, but you can put a Spanish-style house anywhere you want.
Yeah.
I mean,
VAR mainly works for commercial development, and you gotta be in one of the architectural districts, and then some of the multifamily things.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, some of my favorite neighborhoods are, you got a Spanish thing next to a Greek revival, next to some super modern, something that doesn't seem to belong there at all. I mean, like that, so yeah,
Well, okay.
there's a
I'm-
nice
I'm-
Spanish
I'm
style
good.
right behind that transfer I was talking about.
yeah. So I mean, it can go different ways. And there is, I won't tell you which parts, because I'm gonna, I mean, there are parts in this that I think are probably overreach, but that is a reaction to what we've been asked to put forward.
But it's also who defines beautiful and what they define it as. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
but-
it's like, I may want a certain type of house next to me, but I don't, it's
We
not
can-
my lot.
I do think that's actually a valid point. I do think there will be some parameters for the BAR, and it's like, we don't need to be moving, hey, I don't like that round window and it needs to be,
Right.
like that type stuff. But yeah, but I'm thinking for, again, you're right, it is subjective, but there's 7 citizens up there that tend to spit out a good product at the end. But yeah, some of it is very subjective.
But I thought it was gonna be more guidelines of materials and
Yeah.
things like that versus you're gonna have a contemporary house or you're gonna have the
You're
other
probably not
type
getting a
of
lot of
house.
vinyl siding and things like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was my assumption, and maybe it needs to be
I
spelled
just,
out.
wasn't it something like you get neighborhood feedback? Because, well,
I mean, it's gonna be, You're gonna have to go talk to the VAR.
I will have to talk to the VAR. There'll be district standards, so a lot of the things you're talking about will be spelled out before it ever comes to VAR. So the VAR should function as, these were the guidelines, I've designed my house within those guidelines. Yes, you check those boxes. Can I see samples of your final material? Yes, the end. Where's your landscape plan? Does it meet the tree criteria? Okay, we're good, the
It's
end.
tricky with the VAR sometimes, and from a commercial standpoint, they start trying to get outside their little box. But
Yes, absolutely.
as long as you can describe what that box is back to them, I mean, you know.
We're guilty of that for certain, here and in other places I've worked as well. But, yeah, I mean, that's a real concern. So back to words matter. That's why it needs to all be spelled out, very definitively there, if we go this direction.
But this is a basis for the rest of what would overlay on College Avenue based on what you talked about, the short-term moratorium to getting rid of PDs.
Yeah, I think that's probably
This
more.
is really the basis.
Yeah, you start
To do
here and
that.
then move in.
I think that's probably more of a real zoning code change, because you're changing, heights, likely. I think that's the only way we ever get out of the circle we're in. So, yeah.
And that way, it's not PDs all the time, and it's not subjective, it's standard, and you know, the benefits. I think that's what I heard you say. I just wanted to summarize.
Yeah, and so having worked elsewhere, and I'm not saying they did everything right by any means. I can tell you, I've pulled council members aside too, and some of you, like, you are not, as a council member, supposed to spend the majority of your time on development within the city. That's not the primary function of a city council or a planning commission, for that matter. I mean, what you did tonight, you don't see those because we don't have a lot of land, but like, that's what a typical planning commission is done. Okay, that lot, there's a threshold for the number of subdivisions, and something, you probably have more experience than I do with it, but this continual back and forth with developers of this, like, that is not what you're supposed to be doing. That is certainly not what
No
planning.
planning involved.
Yeah, that's certainly not what city council is supposed to be doing, and no knock against any of you all, but like, those people that's professional urban planners, engineers, builders, like, that's who should be focused on that, and it should just then fit within the existing code you have, and not this continual thing. And again, the only way to do that is to make it defined, and the only way to make it defined is to create some certainty for all of us within that code.
Makes sense. Well, thank you so much for bringing that, and hopefully everybody, if you would, any comments that you have, send them in. I think everybody made valid points, and I hope everybody who's watching or listening will take the heart of the matter versus this is something that's done and what the intent of bringing this discussion to us and not a proposal. And that's what I hope the citizens will do too, because it's based off of what we've been hearing. And I appreciate y'all putting the work into it to give us something to look at. And then with that, are there any other staff reports?
The public hearing for the comp plan that was originally scheduled for December the 1st, wasn't it? Yes, yeah. The weather prohibited the consultant from getting here. Couldn't get a flight, and he tried, or they tried and tried. It just didn't happen. So we rescheduled January the 12th, 5:30. Been advertised. Ad hit the paper over this last weekend again, and so it'll be on the agendas and everything when it comes out for that meeting. I was trying to think of anything else we've got in terms of at council right now. I think it's pretty well clear.
No, I think and that's the biggest one, but, yeah, snowstorm in Chicago, and that's where he's at, so.
No.
The weird thing about comp plan and city codes, it has to be advertised 30 days in advance, so we had to punt in a whole month, which he was not consulted. It was not, he was sad not to get it done in 2025, but it's life.
Like that.
Any other items? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.